Welcome to my running solo and GM-less games video. My name is Roosevelt Cooper from Golden Acacia Gaming. In this video, I'm going to be demonstrating to you how you can use meaning tables in your solo or GM-less play whenever you need information that cannot be answered by a simple yes or no question. So when it comes to playing solo and GM-less games, if you're not just playing what I like to refer to as a choose your own adventure style game, where you're basically just presented with narrative and then you have a decision choice, you make a choice, and you go to the next portion of that narrative to find out what happens next, which is a totally fine way to play solo games. I play that way myself. However, if you are playing solo games where you're not using that format, where you're being presented with a scene and you have to resolve the scene, typically in a solo game or GM-less game, you would present yes or no questions to find out what's going on and create the scene from that perspective. So, for instance, you're walking into the dungeon, it's dark, it's damp, you hear some noises of running water in the background, and you come across a door. So one of the questions you might want to know is the door locked? So that is a yes or no question that you could ask. So when you're doing a yes or no question, you're basically going to just roll on some type of table to determine whether the answer is yes or whether the answer is no, based upon how likely it is that the answer to that question is yes. So just for simplicity purposes, I'll demonstrate that right now. Let's say it's a 50-50 chance that the door is locked. So I will roll on a D10. 1 through 5 means yes, the door is locked. 6 to 10 means no, the door is not locked. So I'm going to roll now. And I rolled a 3. So that's going to be a yes. The door is locked. So any type of question that you have when you're playing solo or GM-less, if you could present that question in a yes or no format, you can have the dice determine what the answer to that question is. However, sometimes you're going to encounter situations where you can't just simply ask a yes or no question to figure out what the answer is. Case in point, let's say you unlock the door and you go inside the room and you want to know what's in the room. Now you could ask a bunch of yes or no questions. You could say, oh, is there a goblin in the room? Or is there treasure in the room? And you could go that route, but then that's going to really slow up your play, because you're going to have to ask a bunch of yes or no questions, and it's just going to grind out the play. So when you have a situation like that, where it's more than just a yes or no question, there is a tool that you can use in your solo play, and it's called a meaning table. And in the Mythic Game Master Emulator 2nd edition, they provide you with a ton of meaning tables that you can use to be able to determine answers to questions that go beyond yes or no. So let's use this case as an example. We enter the room and we want to find out what's in the room. Well, in that case, we can find an appropriate meaning table that will help us to be able to identify what's in this room. So one of the types of tables that the Mythic Game Master Emulator has is descriptor tables. And these tables are good if you need a description for something, like, for instance, a description of what's in this room. So there are 2 descriptor tables that you're going to roll on. They're both D100s. So you're going to make 2 D100 rolls to get a description of what's in this room. So we're going to go ahead and do that now. All right, so my first roll is a 67. So now I'm going to take a look at the first descriptor table and see what that says. 67 is mildly. And then I'm going to roll on the second descriptor table. And this time I rolled a 93. 93 is stylish, mildly stylish. So now what you're going to do is you're going to use those two words to help you determine what's in the room. So you can just think about mildly stylish and what that could particularly mean to describe what's in the room. So first thing I think of when I think of mildly stylish is that this room was previously used by the dungeon's occupants as a place where they could gather and have meetings. That's just the first thing I thought of. So there might be a long table in the room. There might be chairs in the room. So it's like a meeting room, so to speak. So it doesn't have to necessarily exactly be something that's stylish or something that's mildly. You're just using these words to trigger thoughts in your mind as far as what could be going on in the adventure. So what that does is that creates a more living narrative, so to speak, and you're not necessarily following a strict script like you're following when you're doing one of those choose your own adventure type adventures. You're actually creating the scene as you go along, so to speak. Now keep in mind, the context of how you're playing or what you're playing is going to dictate what those meanings are on that meaning table. So for instance, mildly stylish, if I'm playing a traditional fantasy medieval game, that's going to have one meaning. Mildly stylish could be something completely different if I'm playing in the 1920s in Harlem, New York, in a Call of Cthulhu game. And mildly stylish could be something completely different if I'm playing 10,000 years into the future in a Numenera game. And mildly stylish could mean something completely different if I'm playing a Star Wars tabletop RPG. So the context of the game that you're playing is going to help you determine what those words mean in the particular game that you're actually playing. All right, so that's how you use a meaning table to be able to answer questions that need more than a yes or no question. And what's cool about the Mythic Game Master Emulator is they have a ton of different meaning tables for a bunch of different scenarios that you can use. So you just pick the one that works best for you, roll on it, and then see what you come up with. So hopefully you found that valuable. Try it out in your game and let me know how it works.